Level 3 has begun. This is SportsRage. I am Gabriel Morency. Kicking it, Cam Stewart in the house. Tony Finn will step up and in here as well. We'll talk some college basketball. We'll get back to the college slate. NFL props. We'll take a look at the Australian Open once again. We've got golf, the tournament, in-game situations. We'll see who Cam likes. Day late, dollar short tonight. These damn player props. And the party's over now with Wembanyama. His number tonight was it was 24.5, and it came down to 23.5. He ends up with 23. It's just too sharp, and it's frustrating. Wow. I had over 23.5 tonight. The Spurs win 116-100 over the Portland Trailblazers. Wembanyama, 7 of 18 from the field, 23 points, 12 rebounds tonight, and he played 29 minutes. So I can't really fully call out Popovich for the amount of minutes, but he is going to win the Rookie of the Year. You see right now, if you guys are paying attention, he's consistently now getting like 22, 23, 24. He scored 33 the other night. He's starting to score more, and he's on a really bad team as well. He doesn't get that many shots either. Something to be noted. Like tonight, Cam, everybody went off in the NBA tonight, like Embiid the other night, Karl Anthony Towns. I can't even keep up. So tonight it was Luka Doncic's turn. So Luka Doncic goes off, and he scores 73 points tonight. That's insane. And listen, Doncic is amazing and stuff. How many did Booker score when it was all said and done? Booker was in the 60s. He was at 62 the last I saw. What did Booker end up with? Booker ended up, 62. So you got one guy that scored 73, another guy that scored 62. Karl Anthony Towns scored 62 earlier in the week, and Joel Embiid scored 70. So shout out to everyone joining us on Sirius XM Channel 159. This is Sports Rage. I am Morency. So Luka goes off for 73 tonight. Booker goes off for 62. Cat goes off for 62 early in the week. And you got to love the Karl Anthony Towns scores 62 points, but somehow at a plus-minus of net 0. Is this suddenly that everybody in the NBA, these guys are so great? Is it like, wow, Joel Embiid is just so much better than everybody. And, these guys, Devin Booker is so much better, and Karl Anthony Towns so much better. Remember when Kobe Bryant scored 81 points? It was kind of rare. It was like, wow. Yep. Like when Jordan would get into the 60s, it'd be like, whoa, right? And Kobe dropped the 81. Now it's just happening continuously. And I'm not taking anything away from these guys. They're great players. But the fact is, the reality is, so Embiid scored 70 the other night. Great stuff. Wembanyama scored 33 on him in 28 minutes. So suddenly your 70 becomes 37. So, the one guy dropped 70 on you. The other guy came back with 33. So it's like the plus-minus stuff. Devin Booker tonight, and I like Booker as a player. I think he's great. Booker took 37 shots tonight. Like, normally players like in before 37 shots, it'd be like 3 games or something. Like the amount of 3-point shots that players take and the amount of shots and volume because of the totals. So another thing is, too, there are a lot of guys. There are a couple of dudes that go off, and the stars do, and they're awesome. But it's kind of like guys should score more than they do. We have totals right now that are basically what NBA All-Star game totals used to be. Tonight, the in-game total was 285 in the Pacer game. So if you're a starter and you're playing in a game and the total is 285 points, you probably should score 40 points. Like, you know what I mean? You probably should. Nobody's playing defense. And it's another thing in the NBA. There's like an unspoken code in the NBA. If you average all these points, you're going to get paid. You don't get paid for defense. You get screwed over. Gary Payton Jr. is a great defensive player. They don't care about him. They send his ass to the G League. Oh, play defense. Yeah, you got to play defense as a team and stuff, but you get paid to score in the NBA nowadays, like hitting home runs in baseball. So imagine, Cam, you're not going to step up and play defense, sort of like, let's just trade baskets. It's like a pickup game. Yeah. You score, I score, we all win. You score 38, I'm averaging 23, I'm going to get paid, you're going to get paid, we're all going to get paid, and the fans are happy and entertained because it was a high-scoring game. We all put big stats up. Yet what happened the other night when the T-Wolves played? They lost. He scored 62 points, and they lost because of Karl Anthony Towns. Karl Anthony Towns shot them out of the game. He was trying to get to 80. He's trying to get to 100. He's trying to do this. He's taking one bad shot after another, And you'll notice, look at the common theme here tonight. Devin Booker scored 62 points tonight. They lost. All right. Karl Anthony Towns scored 62 points the other night. They lost. Luka dropped 73 tonight. They barely won. All right. They won by 5. So it's just the new league that we're in. It's a modern video game right now. Nobody plays defense. And I'm not going to say nobody. You know, the Knicks play defense, and there's a couple of teams that do. And it'll help them in the playoffs because these other teams are going to try to flick the switch. And there ain't no switch to flick because you never played defense all year. So suddenly you're going to be like, all right, now we'll try to play defense, but you can't fake it.
You know what, Morency? Here's the thing, too. You got to play a little bit of defense. This offensive stuff, people might like it sometimes, but it gets boring after a while. Don't you like to go to a game and see a guy? Yeah.
This is SportsRage. I am Morency. The pistol plays the hustlers, people the bust up, every piss in between. Let's do this thing. Countdown to kickoff is on. The National Football League's Final Four is set, and the lines are starting to move right now. The money continues to come in on the Baltimore Ravens, despite the fact that Patrick Mahomes is 10-1 against the spread as an underdog in his career, and he's won 8 of the games outright. People aren't buying into that. They're buying in that the Baltimore Ravens are going to win this game, although I think we're to the point now where once you're the champion for a while, you start to annoy people. People think you're a great story until you hang around too long. And the Kansas City Chiefs have stayed at the party for too long, and people are tired of them. So I think it's, we talked about the word spite. I think people are pulling the trigger on Baltimore because they want to see Kansas City lose. Although this isn't an imperfect Kansas City Chief football team. We're talking about the number 1 and number 2 ranked scoring defenses in the National Football League going head-to-head here, laying 4 points. As much as I like Baltimore and as much as I think the Ravens are going to win this game, I'm not in love with laying 4 points. And we'll get into the teasers and all the ways to approach this here in Level 3. Shout out to everyone joining us on the Mightier 1090 ESPN Radio, SoCal in the house of 50,000-watt juggernaut. The San Francisco 49er and Detroit Lion number is now moved up to 7.5, and the total is moved up to 52. All right, this thing was 50.5 earlier in the week. Deebo Samuel has been cleared to play, although we all knew he was going to play in this game, so the number is moved a little bit. Tony Finn's going to step up and in straight from the strip in Las Vegas, Nevada, Area 51. Let's hope the pings and the towers work tonight for Finn in the middle of the desert as he steps up and in. We'll get into some college basketball tonight as well. We got a full slate of college basketball on Saturday, full slate of NHL hockey and Australian Open tennis. We got some overnight tennis. We've been crushing the tennis. We got the women's final. We'll get into who's going to win, how many games are going to be. The spread is 5.5. Sabalenka is minus 5.5 games over Zhang. We're going to break it all down. We got a ton of picks here in Level 3. Let's roll. This is SportsRage.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Some refer to him as a game manager, Mark. I mean, throwing for over 250 yards in divisional round, 39 attempts. I don't know if that really chalks up to being a game manager. He was kind of throwing it around with 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Pretty efficient.
Whatever we saw from Jared Goff in 2 home playoff games, I would expect something dynamically different from what we're going to see from him on the road. That's just the way it's been his entire career. His home road splits have always been pretty dynamic.
Football Full Circle, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network.
Well, look at the Heisman Trophy.
The early line.
And what it all means. Individual success.
You should have tried to get something for Anthony Rendon. Not bought at this deadline.
Newswire.
We're getting a lot of news. Trades, cuts, and some movement in terms of starting quarterbacks,
Pharrell,
backup quarterbacks.
coast to coast.
I want to watch great players make buckets and win games.
Game time decisions.
I have no idea what the heck the Blazers are doing and what game.
In-game live.
Just
prime time.
Yard for a grand slam.
The bottom of the 4th inning in a 12-2 baseball game. We got football scores going on at Wrigley right now.
SportsRage late night.
We waited for 1.5. We got paid. Did like the 2.5. Jumped on.
There's no taking weeks off in golf betting ever. These are the best weeks to bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
This is SportsRage. I am Gabriel Morency. 70-69 right now for the Golden Bears over Stanford. 70-69 with 1:10 remaining in a basketball game. We got a close one. We've got a tie hockey game as well right now. The St. Louis Blues and the Seattle Kraken. 10 minutes remaining in the third period of play. We're tied at 3 right now. New in-game total is 7.5. The game is essentially a pick-em. If you're really hardcore, we've got some AHL hockey going on. The Bakersfield Condors and the Abbotsford Canucks are also tied at 3. The Calgary Wranglers are losing 3-0 to the Barracuda. Colorado Eagles, 2-2 with the Henderson Silver Knights right now. Looking at this, and nothing really jumps off the screen at me here tonight. You know, I won some, I lost sometimes. One of these deals, Cam, looking at my account right now, and I've been on fire the last 3 days. And tonight I thought I won more than I lost, but I'm looking at my account, and it's sort of like a little break-even-ish. It's sort of like, wow, I thought I did better than I did, but evidently I didn't. But one thing I did do, which is good, I've stored the San Francisco 49ers. You know what screwed me was his Wembanyama prop tonight. I have him over 23.5. He finishes with 23. Let's bring Tony Finn in. It's a cold world, Tony. When you bet on star player props in the NBA, you might as well just flip a coin. They're either going to win by a bucket or they're going to lose by a bucket for the most part. And Wembanyama is now in that range right now. You know, it was 20. The other night, same thing. It was like 22.5. He got 24. Tonight it's 23.5. He gets 23.
I haven't looked at his numbers, but I would have probably played him with the opponent. I might have played blocks. I don't know what his block total number was. How many blocks do you see in his box score right now?
How many blocks did he finish with tonight?
Well, Portland.
Well, I left the rebounds on the table. That's one thing, too. He finished with 12 rebounds. I know he finished with 12 boards. They won 116 to 100. Block shots tonight, only 2 block shots.
I think it's been 3 for him. It may have been 2.5. But long story short, Portland takes
2.5.
So much they attack the rim. Yeah. So, I mean, I missed a big play tonight. I missed a big payoff. It was D. Booker over 28.5 points first quarter.
Well played, Tony. Yeah.
I had over 28.5 for the game, and I looked down. I was working. I looked down and I said, well, there's something wrong with my scoreboard. It's saying he has 17 points in the first 6 minutes or something. It was crazy. But
everybody scores.
And they lose.
Well, of course they did. Just like he scored 62. Karl Anthony Towns scored 62 the other night, and they lost too.
Yeah.
Right? It's not winning basketball. And, in fact, it's like Luka tonight. He scored 73. Anybody that watched it, listen, the Atlanta Hawks suck, number one. The Hawks don't play defense, number two. And number three, the Hawks let them score. Like they basically it went sort of that Jordan rules for younger people. Whatever. When Jordan played, he would go off all the time, and teams sort of realized, you know what? If he scores 60 and he scores 70, we can outscore one guy. Like, you know what I mean? Let him shoot. And that's sort of the theory because everyone else starts standing around. So it's, NBA coaches are smart. They'll sort of like siphon it and go, you know what? Like the other night's a great example. If you're Charlotte suck, but they love it. They're like, Karl-Anthony Towns is scoring 62 on us, yet Anthony Edwards is taking 5 shots tonight. Nobody else is shooting. Nobody else is touching the ball. So all we got to do is outscore this one dude that's going to score 62. So look, they lost. Phoenix loses the game. And for the record, I took Siakam, guys, and he's another one that's on, another one that's so consistent. His player prop tonight was same thing, was 23.5. Siakam, 21.5. My bad, 21.5. Siakam ends up with 31 tonight. He's been pretty solid, and he's not really a superstar, Siakam, so the numbers aren't moving that much on him. Something to keep your eye on, everybody.
Yeah. I don't think that Siakam hasn't showed, at least that trade is. I don't know that it's going to send Indiana or the Pacers over the edge or over that ledge that puts them out of the play-in tournament part because they're still basically the same team. They're still not a great defensive team. I don't know the Siakam improves them that much, but we'll see what happens. Got a long way to go. 40-plus games, right? 40 games left.
You'll make them better. Them better.
I hear what you're saying in a sense. My deal with this is the Pacers gave up a lot. A lot. For a player that's not a superstar. You're right. Like, is he a needle mover for you? You guys are already good, so he sort of adds something. But one thing we'll say about them, and they win tonight, you can't judge this. It's way too early because him and Halliburton really haven't played together, right? No, but you're right. And one thing is, though, Tony, Siakam is a better defensive player than any of these guys are and the Pacers are.
Absolutely.
So at least that's one thing that he brings to the table for them. He can score. He's going to give you 25. He's going to give you maybe 30, but he can actually play. And he can play at 4 different spots defensively. He's long and rangy, bro. So he can guard anybody but the center.
And he had some energy tonight. I watched that game. He had plenty of energy. He's also a guy that can defend, rebound, and he runs the court pretty well. So that he fits in with this Indianapolis team, obviously with Carlisle's system. So it'll be fun to watch.
You know what it is with him?
Listening. Yeah.
It's Indianapolis. They can't really sign star free agents. So when they saw a chance to get a guy that basically behind the scenes, are you willing to stay here if we offer you the max contract? Yes, I am. So they're like, okay, get him, right? Because if they wait till free agency, that was the whole thing. People are like other teams like the Warriors and other teams like the Sacramento Kings like Siakam, but they said, listen, he's going to be a free agent. So we can make a run at him in the offseason, guys. We don't need to go crazy here. Is he going to move the needle that much? The Pacers know if we're going head-to-head with teams in California and we're going head-to-head with the Warriors and we're going head-to-head with the Mavericks, we're going to lose, right? He's not going to choose us. So if we trade for him and just pay him and overpay him, he'll stay. The Raptors sort of operate in the same way. You got to get quickly. You got to get guys through trades and then make them happy once they get there. All right, we got to get into some Tony Finn's football, but I'm looking forward to your college basketball picks, Finn. Well, you sound disappointed. You don't have any good ones?
No.
You heard him, Cam. He's like, I'm like, you don't have any good ones?
That's a man with no confidence right there. What's going on, Tony?
I have two. I have 2 strong plays tomorrow, but it's such a big card. I was disappointed.
It's 300 games. That's all you got is 2?
That's too strong. But that's my long list too, so it could go to 1. So you never know. But I was more looking forward to Cam's NFL, but I'm not sure he's going to make it that long. So we'll have to give me up college picks first.
I'll be fine. Yeah.
You're not sure he's going to make it to the next segment.
That's the best.
It was only 2 games, so you can't really
How about this though? One thing about your comments about Indy. The one thing that Carlisle can sell in the free agency, if they get a young player who wants to play and he wants to run, and have the chance to score 50 points, listen, the Pacers are that team.
You're damn right.
Yeah.
It's a great point,
right,
Tony.
they are.
If you're Siakam and you're a free agent to be, you just got thrown into the fastest-paced offense.
That's right.
That's my whole point. I was talking about guys and they're scoring earlier. God bless him. I've got a Pascal Siakam jersey literally feet away from me right now. Love the guy. Love him. Always defended him. He's not a 31-point-a-night guy, Tony. It's the byproduct of the system. Like I said, you know what I mean, Tony? Before you joined us, I said, listen, not taking anything away from these guys, but if the freaking in-game total is 285 points and you're a starter, you probably should be scoring 30 points.
Yes,
your team scored 150.
Yeah.
Siakam's
you
a 20 to 24 guy. He's 20, 22.
Yes.
That's his jam. That's
but he gives you rebounds and assists, too. So he's a solid 22, 8, and 6 type guy. Right? But now, in the Pacers, he's going to start going off for 31, and they're going to have to give him a max contract.
A good 3-and-D guy. Good 3-D guy.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Some refer to him as a game manager, Mark. I mean, throwing for over 250 yards in divisional round, 39 attempts. I don't know if that really chalks up to being a game manager. He was kind of throwing it around with 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Pretty efficient.
Whatever we saw from Jared Goff in 2 home playoff games, I would expect something dynamically different from what we're going to see from him on the road. That's just the way it's been his entire career. His home-road splits have always been pretty dynamic.
Football Full Circle, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network.
Well, look at the Heisman Trophy.
The early line.
And what it all means. Individual success.
You should have tried to get something for Anthony Rendon. Not bought at the deadline.
Newswire.
We're getting a lot of news, trades, cuts, and some movement in terms of starting quarterbacks,
Pharrell,
backup quarterbacks.
coast to coast.
I want to watch great players make buckets and win games.
Game time decisions.
I have no idea what the heck the Blazers are doing and what they
In-game live, prime time.
Yard for a grand slam.
The bottom of the 4th inning in a 12-2 baseball game. We got football scores going on at Wrigley right now.
SportsRage
That was
late
good betting.
night.
We waited for 1.5. We got paid.
We did.
Didn't like the 2.5. Jumped on
There's
it.
no taking weeks off in golf betting ever. These are the best weeks to bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Quickest 100 minutes in sports talk and television continues. This is SportsRage. I am Gabriel Morency. The show really has flown by once again. It's been a fast week this week. It's sort of bittersweet because we know football is coming to a close, right? We got 3 NFL games left with the conference championships and the Super Bowl. There are a bunch of college football all-star games coming up, which I always enjoy. That'll be next week as well. We got the NHL all-star game next week. But it's the changing of the seasons coming up. And March Madness is around the corner. And I'm actually really looking forward to the start of the Major League Baseball season that starts like way earlier than ever before. Like it's almost like, Tony Finn is with us and Cam Stewart. Tony, you brought up you had to do a double take when you were looking at Booker's stat line in the first quarter tonight after you bet his player props. And I had to do a double and triple take when I saw the Dodgers season was starting on March 20th. I'm like, I'm not spring training, guys. Like, when's the regular season starts? Like, no, March 20th it starts. Like, wow.
Where are they playing? They're playing somewhere.
South Korea. Korea, Seoul. Right.
Yes. And I knew that. I just didn't remember where it was. Was it Japan? Where was it? But that's a good spot, and I think it's good for baseball. I don't know how good it is for the Dodgers. Travel.
Why?
I don't want to travel. Travel, early starts, more chance.
No, I like it.
Injuries.
It's part of our world domination tour.
That's nice. That's the best. Well, what about the crowds there too? These guys live, breathe, but like baseball's more important than any. Oh man, that's going to be a wicked atmosphere. Oh my God.
Oh yeah. You got it, dude. It's Ohtani's debut in South Korea. It's going to be
exactly. Yeah, I can't write the book. It's perfect.
No, we should know. South Korea and Japan are hardcore rivals. They don't like each other. They hate each other. But
they respect baseball.
But they love baseball and whatever. And it's not like war zone like days anymore, right? It's different. So my point is, it's going to be all the Japanese fans going to go to South Korea for this game because they're going to see Ohtani's debut with the Dodgers. And Yamamoto is going to pitch too. I'm just bringing it up. It's not that far off March 20th. And let me just say too, I remember I used to get mad, and you guys remember this, baseball, because I remember I used to always be mad. I'd be like, damn, it's the home opener tonight, but it's the national championship game, Cam. Oftentimes, Major League Baseball's that home opener used to be the first Monday of April. Right, and then they give the Reds the afternoon game and everybody else after. Nowadays they don't wait; it's a little earlier, and it's not just the Dodgers actually and San Diego. Let's see, Major League Baseball schedule. The Rangers and I think it's the Rangers and the Cubs play on the 27th type of deal, of March. It starts, and I remember bitching before. I was like, "Yeah, you're ruining tradition." Now I'm like, you know what? Just bring it on, man. Start this damn thing. Let's get it going. Maybe it's because I'm a Dodger fan, though, and we're good.
That's true.
Maybe, maybe that's why. Let's see. Regular season. God, they have a lot of preseason spring training crap. That's just irrelevant, too. It's too long.
Yeah. It's needed. It's a necessary evil, though, for baseball, especially baseball pitchers.
It's too long, Tony. They don't need that to be this long.
Well, then they need to quit. Then they probably need to start, stretching out a little bit before 2 weeks before the season starts. They don't even make
money off of it either. I don't know why they prolong it so much. It really is true. They don't need this amount of time to play. Players don't even play. It gets annoying. God, I got to keep scrolling here. Now I'm getting upset. I want to see when it's the 27th. All right, and what I like about these games, too, they're 3:05 a.m. So it's going to be at 6 in the morning East Coast time, March 20th and March 21st, Dodgers in San Diego. And then the Rangers, the Brewers and Mets. I'm getting in my earpiece here. What's the Brewers and Mets? March 28th?
Mm-hmm.
Why would – that's strange. Brewers and Mets, it's a random.
Yeah, where'd they come up with
that? Oh, no, here we go.
Yep.
No, you know what? So, you know what, Tommy, though? You're right and you're wrong. Tom and our boy Tommy in our earpiece here that you guys can't hear. Good job, Tommy. Everybody plays March 28th. So that's when it starts. Yeah. That's a week earlier than normal. Not to mention the Dodgers and San Diego are starting a week earlier. It'll give them time to travel back. But I'm stoked about this. To be honest, too, and this is a pretty flat college basketball season. I know that the tournament will be cool and stuff, whatever. But – I brought it up earlier, Tony. The last night LSU and South Carolina women played.
Yeah.
it had higher ratings than the NBA did last night. I don't know if you're capping this stuff, but you probably should. Like, more people are watching this than NBA games.
Well, I don't. I pay attention to it much more now because they. Now I'm not going to say it. I'll get myself in trouble. But I was going to say something to the effect that now that they can dunk, I watch a little more than I used to. So
You can't dunk. You can barely walk to your car.
Listen, let me tell you something. When I was in high school, I could dunk a volleyball in high school.
I don't believe
a flat
you.
volleyball.
The thing you were dunking was a Budweiser or a bong.
Miller Lights. Don't go.
Yeah, okay. I didn't see Miller. Okay.
High lifer. A high lifer.
I believe you're a high lifer. That much I believe.
Yeah,
March 28th, everybody starts.
Remember when they started at the regular time? And I'll never forget this. Minnesota had a cold snap, and they didn't put the Twins on the road. Cancellation. Like, it was you know what I'm talking about, Tony. Like, you're starting early in some of these cold weather places. Maybe you want to put them in a warm weather place if you're going to start the season. Let's figure this stuff out. Like, it was crazy. They had so many postponements, Gabe. You remember that year? It was nuts. It was a real problem. So hopefully they figure something out.
No, they've done a pretty good job here if you look at as far as where the games are. The Brewers and Mets are on the East Coast, Braves, Phillies, Angels, Orioles. But that's the only stupid one. So, like, why would you have a West Coast team on the East Coast? It should be the other way around. But they do have, like, a bunch of, you know what I mean, sort of West Coast teams playing with East Coast teams, like Cardinals at Dodgers, Guardians at Athletics, Red Sox at Mariners. Cubs at Rangers. So they did a pretty good job as far as weather is concerned. All right, so Tony, what's your what are those 2 games out of the million games tomorrow that catch your eye on the college hardwood?
Well, I'll tell you, I'll give you some form of analogy on the Providence game, but the game I like is I've been fading Notre Dame the whole year, and I think we mentioned that earlier in the season. I mentioned that I was fading them, and they've gotten better defensively, but they still can't shoot straight. And they're in tough. Every week they're in tough, be it whoever, whether non-conference part of the schedule or their conference part of the schedule. Fade Notre Dame tomorrow, take the visitor, and cash your ticket in about 2 hours and a half after you start watching the game. The game I really like, though, is Ed Cooley. When he announced he was leaving Providence to join Georgetown, I was very surprised. Well, now he gets to play Providence tomorrow. Providence is head and shoulders more talented than Georgetown, and they're not that good. That's where Georgetown is with Ed Cooley. It'll take him a couple, 3 years, but give me 2 games tomorrow, every Saturday, until otherwise advised. Fade Notre Dame, and tomorrow it's Georgetown. Providence at home against Georgetown. Laying a pretty big number, but we're looking at 20-point victory.
Yeah, they're like 11 and a half points. I don't know, Tony. Anytime there's a Freudian slip here.
What did I say?
You messed that up. You only had 2 games, too.
I did. I had 2 games.
I know. You just sold it like you were taking Georgetown, and then like he slips up, then have a Providence.
I was selling the fact that I was surprised he left. I was surprised he left Providence to go to Georgetown. It was a surprise to me. But Georgetown at one point in time in their timeline, they were a tradition-rich program when Thompson was a coach, but.
That was 40 years ago.
That's
Georgetown
correct.
sucked. Let's just call it out for what it is. They're terrible.
Yes, they are. They are terrible. They're terrible. No depth, and it's just terrible. It really is. And it's a shame.
It's sad to see, actually. I don't know. They're like, I guess a good comparison, even though Nebraska are on the uptick right now in football, but I think it's a good comparison. They're like a former power that's like, wow, you can't believe. Like younger people wouldn't know and realize that, wow, like Georgetown used to be feared. I mean, they were known, man, for always having the centers, right? From Patrick Ewing, Alonzo Mourning, Mutombo. Yes. They were just intimidating, man. Like Allen Iverson, a guard. Like they always had cool players and a hip program. They just don't spend the money. And it's weird, too. What's crazy about it is that Georgetown is a super rich school, right? It's a super rich law school and stuff. So you figure that they could dig into their pockets and get some NIL money going here, but I guess the will isn't there to do it. Okay, Tony.
Why is DePaul DePaul's the program. They're in Chicago, for God's sakes. How come they don't get players? When we grew up with DePaul, Gabe, they were an Elite 18. Found out like they were wicked. They're a joke.
Yeah,
I don't understand. That's crazy. They should be good.
No, but DePaul was good when there weren't that many teams and stuff like that. That was a long time ago.
No, my point is,
the Joey Meyer stuff.
Like Chicago, Illinois gets better players. Like they don't get players.
Yeah, but Illinois is not even that good.
No. Well,
no,
like DePaul is just not a big enough like prestige or anything. Like DePaul, you're right, Kev. DePaul in the 70s had a nice little run, but they don't have any sort of brand name power or anything like that. All right, so they're not.
You remember Georgetown? Georgetown, Houston, Elijah and Ewing that was my first really big game that I played money wise, paper wise. About 84, 83.
Yeah, that's one right before that. A couple years before that is Ralph Sampson in Virginia.
Yes,
they kind of put college basketball on the modern mainstream map, right? I know Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and UCLA in the 70s stuff, but they were so dominant. Sort of like Bosworth. Like people think now college football was always like this. It wasn't. It was, you know what I mean? It was like the mid 80s that it exploded.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Some refer to him as a game manager, Mark. I mean, throwing for over 250 yards in divisional round, 39 attempts. I don't know if that really chalks up to being a game manager. He was kind of throwing it around with 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Pretty efficient.
Whatever we saw from Jared Goff in 2 home playoff games, I would expect something dynamically different from what we're going to see from him on the road. That's just the way it's been his entire career. His home road splits have always been pretty dynamic.
Football Full Circle, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network.
Well, look at the Heisman Trophy.
The early line.
And what it all means. Individual success.
You should have tried to get something for Anthony Rendon. Not bought at the deadline.
Newswire.
We're getting a lot of news, trades, cuts, and some movement in terms of starting quarterbacks,
Pharrell, coast to coast.
I want to watch great players make buckets and win games.
Game time decisions.
I have no idea what the heck the Blazers are doing and what they
in-game live, prime time.
Yard for a grand slam.
The bottom of the 4th inning in a 12-2 baseball game. We got football scores going on at Wrigley right now.
SportsRage
That was
late
good
night.
We waited for 1.5. We got paid.
We did.
Did like a 2.5. Jumped on.
There's no taking weeks off in golf betting ever. These are the best weeks to bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
This is Sports Rage. I am Morency. So much stuff going on this week in the football world, and now people are like, wow, we can't believe Belichick doesn't have one of these jobs yet. I think what's perfect is Belichick to coach Navy. That's not going to happen. I think it should. He's got nothing to prove. The guy already won all these Super Bowls, go to college. And in today's day and age, too, like if Belichick was there, he could win a bunch of games with Navy and, he'd put him on the map. They'd be on TV all the time. It's where he started. I think it's just it would be super cool. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I don't think he's going to get the Commander's job. We know he's not going to get the Seattle job. So as far as Belichick, just quickly, Sharon Moore has been named the head coach of the Michigan Wolverines. The next interesting thing to see is what happens with the coaching staff. I think Jesse Minter's gone, the defensive coordinator at Michigan. I think he's going to go with Harbaugh. Jay Harbaugh's son, was the special teams coach of the Michigan Wolverines. He's going to go. But anyone who saw their special teams in the Rose Bowl is like, okay, fine. All kidding aside. Kidding aside. But the big one we were talking about was Herbert, the strength and conditioning coach. Hopefully Harbaugh doesn't raid the Michigan staff, but the big thing to keep our eye on, guys, over the next 48 hours, 72 hours now is the transfer portal. Now officially the Michigan Wolverine players are allowed to leave in the same way Alabama was. You can't just leave whenever you want. Like these little wind portals open. So there's a 30-day window coming up here for the Michigan players. They can leave if they want now. Yet this will not be like Alabama. I don't expect anybody to leave. Like maybe, maybe 1, 2, whatever. I don't think people are going to leave, to be honest. So I don't think like the sky is falling on Michigan because Harbaugh is gone. But we have a lot of time to talk about Harbaugh's future with the Chargers. Tony, give us the 4-1-1. Who's going to win this week in the NFL?
Well, I've got more player props than I do size or totals in this weekend. But I would say this: I really like San Francisco. I really like the matchup. Although I'm rooting for Detroit. I mean, if good things must come to an end. It's been a great season for Detroit, and I really like what they've done. But this is a really good San Francisco team. No wet, no rain, calm wind, 75 degrees. At Levi's, you're going to see Purdy throw the ball around the field. I think he'll surpass 31 and a half passing attempts, and I think they're smart enough not to be running against this defensive front of the Lions. And I like San Francisco by double digits. Kansas City and Baltimore, they're a different animal. I just don't every single variable, guys, that I look at, I try as hard as I can to find a way to play Kansas City. And as much as I like Kansas City, Mahomes and that group, I can't do it. I can't do it. I mean, Baltimore may be as good, maybe better than San Fran, and that's the two teams that line up in the Super Bowl for me.
Well, we saw Baltimore beat San Francisco on Christmas. About a month ago. You mentioned player props, just a couple of player props I'll throw out there that I will be playing in this game. Brendan Ayuk over 78.5 receiving yards. George Kittle over 61.5 receiving yards. Samuel over 45.5 receiving yards. Josh Reynolds over 34.5 receiving yards. Josh Reynolds become one of my favorite props over the years. I used to play with the Rams all the time too.
Awesome.
He's the type of guy that's going to catch 2 or 3 balls only, but they're for like 20 yards at a time. So it doesn't take a lot of catches for him to go over his numbers. So there's a couple of right there. Kittle over 61.5, Ayuk over 78.5, Samuel over 45.5, and then Reynolds over 34.5. As we've been talking about the numbers all week, guys. Nakua lit him up 2 weeks ago. Mike Evans lit him up last week. The number one wide receiver of the Detroit Lions opponent routinely gets like 120, 140 yards. Baker Mayfield threw for like 340 plus last week against them. Purdy is going to tear it up in the air. Doesn't mean Detroit won't score a bit too and put some points up. But from these stats, these props that I like, those are ones I'm going to be looking at. We're going to have more of them. Cam, what are your plays for the game?
Thanks, Gabe. I got a few plays, and I agree with Tony Finn big time. I like San Francisco to win this game by double digits. But, Gabe, I did a money line parlay because, I'm not screwing around here. First, we'll start with props. We're going to go with San Francisco. Team total over 28.5. I'll lay 20 cents of juice for this. Here's the deal. Tony's right. I think San Francisco scores a minimum of like 31, 34 points in this game. I think they absolutely rock. Purdy, do you guys know Purdy's number? His passing yards opened up when Bovey gave it to us, gave it 263.5 or whatever. It's like 270 something now. Like, that is steamed hard. I'm telling you. And usually I believe Purdy is going to go off, but George Kittle, anytime touchdown plus 115. You can attack Detroit through the air. He's going to be open. And this guy, once he's in the open field, is a man possessed. Stiff arm, gone, whatever. I also like his over receiving yards. Same game parlay. Kittle anytime touchdown. San Francisco to win the game at plus 160. That made my list too. So I'm a big Kittle guy this week. Also, we have a guy from the Ravens that nobody's talking about. This is going to be the game. He had 13 carries for 66 yards, and before that, he averaged 15 a carry. Justice Hill's my guy, over 32.5 rushing yards. I think he's going to get a lot of carries. Gus the Bus will get some at the goal line. If he doesn't take it in, Lamar will, and he might get some throws to Justice Hill as well if you like the receiving and catching props. His total, 7.5 rushing attempts over. Gabe, I was digging deep in the dumpster, and I found that one. I'm like, ooh, 13 last week. I think we can get 8. I think he's going to get a lot of touches. He's a speed back and a nice change of pace. So I think Justice Hill is going to be a big part of the Ravens offense. Lamar's probably going to go wild as well. That's what I got, Gabe. I got a few more, but yeah, that's about it for now. I'll probably have about 20 more by game time, like you, probably 20 or 30. That's the way we roll. Yeah.
Looking at the long field goal prop. So the long field goal prop here is 47.5 in Kansas City and Baltimore. And I'm a big fan of the long field. I'm a big fan of the long field goal prop. And I played it last week in the Buffalo game even. And, wind and all this. I was getting tweets. Oh, I don't know, it was just windy. Well, whatever. I didn't ask your opinion. I posted the pick. So, but Butker drilled it. And one thing, Butker is like really, people talk about Tucker, but Butker is a great bad weather kicker, guys. This guy, if you look at Kansas City games over the years in the playoffs, they played a lot of nasty weather games, like a lot of them. And Reed never hesitates. He's like 49-yarder, bad weather, wind, cold, go for it. I don't care, kick it, right? And, 50-yarder, kick it. We've seen time and time again, Butker has made these kicks. And not to mention on the other side, I've got Justin Tucker. So 47.5, more than a fair number. For the record, Detroit and San Francisco is 46.5. I'll play it, but not as aggressively. I'll just play it for the sake of it. Only because I think Detroit and San Francisco, quite frankly, won't need to settle for field goals. I don't think they're going to get stopped around the 30-yard line. They're going to move the ball on each other, and there's going to be points put up on the board. I think KC and Baltimore is going to be more of a slugfest, even though I think it can go over the number. But like I said, we've seen, even in the win last week in Buffalo, like Andy Reid went, Butker had a bunch of long field goals in the game. Yeah. Reid's not scared of letting Butker kick in bad weather, and it's not bad weather even. Weather's not going to be a factor in Baltimore, and we're in California for the other one. So I love the over 47.5 there. That's just one that I like to play all the time, that we're going to get a piece of. Follow me online at SportsRage on Twitter X. And I'm going to post videos with all my props and stuff. And I'm going to be on with Scott Farrell at 3 o'clock Eastern for this game, in-game live with me and Scott Farrell during the Baltimore and Kansas City game. But I'm with you, Finn and Cam. I think San Francisco are going to have a lot of success through the air on this Lions secondary. I like the Brock Purdy passing yard prop to the over. And I think both quarterbacks are going to go over 1.5 as well, actually. With their touchdown passes in this game. Jared Goff over 1.5 touchdown passes is minus 120. Brock Purdy over 1.5 touchdown passes is minus 210. It is a little chalky. You can put it in the same game parlays with San Francisco to win, etc. So we've got the tennis coming up right now as well. You bet any tennis, Finn? Is that too sophisticated for you?
No, I try to stay away from no, nothing's too sophisticated for me. But I do try to stay away from tennis and soccer just because the fix is always in. If I'm on a game, the fix is always in those two sports. The two easiest sports.
Yeah, like it's not in the NFL and NBA, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
No, I'm worried about that. I'm worried about that.
I'm kidding, but yeah. So what's the parlay pay here? So it's going to be Sinner to win. Sabalenka to win. That's pretty pricey.
Yeah.
So basically, I guess put one of the football games in if you really want to do something there. Sabalenka and Zhang, the handicap is 5.5. I think Sabalenka's going to roll her, but winning by 6 games is quite a lot when you only have to win 2 sets.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to mess with the 5.5. I'm going to put Sabalenka in all the parlays. I'm going to play that parlay minus 176. I'll play it with some football games as well at the back end. But Zhang and Sabalenka, guys, the total is 19.5. You don't need 3 sets to get that. Like 6-4, 6-4 gets us there, right? I mean, give me a 7-5 and a 6-3, and it gets me to 20 as well. But I know you like Zhang plus 5.5 game, but I'd be worried about this considering the correlation. Ask yourself, why is the over-under 19.5? Like, they're pricing this like Sabalenka is going to roll her.
Yeah, I seen an updated one. You got a great number, Gabe. I'm seeing 20, and I saw 120.5. So a 19.5 is fantastic. That's a great price. You're right. The correlation does make sense. The reason the reason I'm taking Zhang for the reason is it's very simple for me. Sabalenka is a better player, and I'm not denying it because obviously she's laying like over 600. The thing is, she's sometimes a slow starter, and the thing about Zhang is she's a very quick starter. So when I'm taking the game's handicap, I think she could like almost win the first set or lose like 7-6. Like it's going to be very close, and then I just don't have to worry about the blowout. Like even if it goes 7-6, 6-2, I win, Gabe. That's nuts. Yeah. So you're right though. Like Sabalenka's a better player. She could win 6-2, 6-2.
If I like Zhang, Cam, I like Zhang like you do the plus 5.5, I'd rather play the 19.5 because she's going to need to win games to get to the 19.5. Number one. Number two, you could hit the 19.5 and still lose the 5.5 if it went 3 sets. Like, you know what I mean? It could end up being, 7-5, 6, 3-6, 7-5, 5-7. And then 6-2 or something like that. Sabalenka smokes her in the third, and then you end up losing a 5.5. All this stuff is correlated when you play these totals. All right, is it going to get to the set? And then, for tennis bettors out there, I know sharper tennis players know this, but then you always got to compare too. All right, if you like the over, what is it that it's going to go to 2 sets or 3 sets or 4 sets to compare the prices? But what I like about this one is it's only 19.5. So 2 sets, man, like 19.5, like we said, man, 6-4, 6-4 gets us there. If we can get a 7-6 or a 7-5 in the first one, boom, we're almost going to fall ass backwards into another win here. We've been pretty good with these totals with the tennis, and we'll look to keep it rolling. As far as the football is concerned, like I said, I'm going to post my video with all the best bets, with all the props and all the million of them, but I do think that the Baltimore Ravens are going to win this game against the Kansas City Chiefs. I think the game's going to go over the number. I think that Baltimore wins 27-21, 26-21 type of deal. 27-24 wouldn't surprise me either, like the Bills score. But I'm not in a hurry to lay the 4 points, though, guys. I'm going to have Baltimore in teasers. I'm going to have them in moneyline parlays. And I think the San Francisco 49ers are going to beat the Detroit Lions 34-24.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Some refer to him as a game manager, Mark. I mean, throwing for over 250 yards in divisional round, 39 attempts. I don't know if that really chalks up to being a game manager. He was kind of throwing it around with 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Pretty efficient.
Whatever we saw from Jared Goff in 2 home playoff games, I would expect something dynamically different from what we're going to see from him on the road. That's just the way it's been his entire career. His home road splits have always been pretty dynamic.
Football Full Circle, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network.
Well, look at the Heisman Trophy.
The early line.
And what it all means. Individual success.
You should have tried to get something for Anthony Rendon. Not bought at the deadline.
Newswire.
We're getting a lot of news, trades, cuts, and some movement in terms of starting quarterback,
Pharrell,
backup quarterback.
coast to coast.
I want to watch great players make buckets and win games.
Game time
You
decisions.
have no idea what the heck the Blazers are doing and what game they're
In-game live. Prime time.
Yard for a grand slam.
The bottom of the 4th inning in a 12-2 baseball game. We got football scores going on at Wrigley right now.
SportsRage
That was good
late
betting.
night.
We waited for 1.5. We got paid.
You did.
information, did like a 2.5. Jumped on.
There's no taking weeks off in golf betting ever. These are the best weeks to bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
This is SportsRage. I am Morency. All right, shout out to all of our guests tonight, man. We had a great show tonight. Thanks to Steve Merrill, Joe Madden, Mick Ossie, Rob Vino, Cam Stewart, and, of course, Tony Finn with us. So once again, Tony, for people just joining us, your 2 college basketball plays tomorrow are what?
Fade Notre Dame until advised otherwise, and the big play I really like tomorrow is Providence at home over Georgetown. Ed Cooley gets beat by some of his former players and his former the people who signed his paycheck when he was at Providence. Give me Providence minus the 11 or 12. I think we're giving up, Dave.
Cam, what do you got for us as far as the golf is concerned?
Oh, dude, Gabe, one of your guys is there. Let's talk about the golf. Do you know Rasmus Højgaard is in second and his brother is first in the European tournament, 1 and 2. Unbelievable. Let's get down to business here. If you're looking at a winner, Aberg at 20-1, that looks really good to me. Ludwig Aberg looks good. Gabe, your guy Schauffele's in the mix too, but there's 26 players that are 5 strokes back. I'm going to take a flyer with Ashke Batea at 110-1, and I already have Nasty Nate Lashley at 400-1. So, and he's 4 off the pace. So, golf's looking good. That parlay, Niners, Sinner, and Sabalenka to even money, Morency. That's what I got for you. I'll take the over 20 in the Zheng match, and I'm going to take the plus 5.5 set spread. I'm done.
I'm going to take I'll take Aberg to win at 20-1. I see. He was one of my guys before. He was 18-1 before the tournament, so it's pretty much the same number. It's 20-1 right now, but there's a lot of guys in the mix right now. Jagerbaum is winning right now. He's plus 350. Højgaard right there, plus 425. Or Jaeger's the favorite. So, like I said, follow us online at SportsRage. We'll have all kinds of picks over the weekend for everybody. We're going to be on live with Scott Farrell on Sunday on all these affiliates. Catch Tony Finn over at Wager Talk, Finn at Wager Talk. Cam will be on tomorrow on the grid. Other than that, you're on your own. Later.